So the next step, for this round pillow project that we're making, well, for any pillow, is to put some piping cording I want to use around mine. To start off with, let's see, I've got two types of cording. This is cotton cording, so it looks like this, like a bit of cotton rope, yeah. And then this other bundle of joy is more of a nylon-y, polyester-y type. Where's the ends? Where's an end I can find? Right, there's an end. It's roughly, this one is a little bit thinner. I quite like this one because it's a bit firmer. I wish I knew where I got it from now. But I bought loads and loads of it because I was doing a thick foam bench seat for a window, and it had to go, it was probably about 4 foot long, and I did piping all around the perimeter of it. So and then I did Roman cushions and all that to match in with it for my daughter-in-law. So I did buy a load of this, so I've got a load left over. Let me just see how big they actually are. I could just get down a ruler. Let me get a bit of white fabric. I'm going to cover mine with white fabric, but I just put this on here so you can see it on the camera. So if I lay that's my 1/4 inch line. Yes, I would say that that's 1/4 inch, and this one is a 1/4 inch. But I do know that when you go into a fabric shop, they have these boxes that they pull yards out of, and they cut you off a length or whatever, and they're in numbers, they're numbered sizes. I don't quite know what that equates to, but if you go into a fabric shop and you say, well, I want cording that's approximately 1/4 inch, as you lay it on a ruler, 1/4 inch wide, then I think you'll be all right. As I say, this is the material that I'm going to use for the actual pillow cover, cushion cover. So I thought I will just do white as the piping around the circumference of the cushion. Now I measured my cushion. This is the round cushion, so I took a tape measure and I measured all the way around like a big donut, and I did actually sort of squish it in so that there was a bit of fluff to the pillow, and measured it, and it came to 46 inches. So that's the minimum that I want. So I'm actually going to make 50 inches roughly, so that I got enough to chop off and do what I want with. It'd be awful to get to the end of it and find I'm good enough. So as I said, I'm going to do it in this white. When we are wrapping around cording, whether you're doing a square pillow or a round pillow, you really want to use bias binding, so your strips are cut on the bias. But let's, first off, I'm going to cut my 50 inches out of this, and then I'll show you how we know the width of the strip that we want to go with it. All I've done now is taken this white cotton, and this was on a long strip, and I've just folded it over to like as if it was a square, so that this line is on the diagonal. Who's that calling me? Hang on a moment. Right, sorry about that, I forgot where I was now. So I was just saying, this, if you've got the street grain going this way, then make, like folding a handkerchief, make a triangle, because we need to cut this diagonal line. But that's, that's a bit of hard work, isn't it, really? So what I like to do then is I've just taken the top of the triangle, and as you can see, mine is all mismatched. I've got very scraggly ends, but all that will come out in the wash, don't worry about that. So then I fold it down. So now, if you like, I've got my triangle. I can go it a bit further. I can bring this more or less, yeah, more or less down. So I've got a fold there, bring it back down on itself. So we want to cut this, but what I'm going to do for me, just to make it easier, is I'm going to twist. So I've got far more fabric, but I've just twisted that around. So I've got this double fold now over this side. Alright, and I'm just straightening out the fabric as best I can, keeping those sides nicely together. And remember now, even though I got it straight, this is actually on, get rid of the pillow, this is actually diagonally across the grain to give us what they call bias cut. And I could, I mean that's if you've got a nice long ruler, that's great, you can work from that. But because I've got my special ruler, I'm actually going to fold it one more time. Okay, and the important thing is making sure these edges are all, now I know the direction I'm cutting, and I can see by just here how far I can go. And I just folded that all up now again, like that. So this is going to be my straight edge. And now I can get down my favourite ruler, another one, this one, my Creative Grid slot ruler. It's called Creative Grids Stripology XL. And on here you have a 0, line. Now which I am going to just put, I'm just making sure this is in shot. Is it in shot? No, it's not. So let's move it all down a bit. Is it in shot now? Let's move the camera up a bit then. One way or the other we're going to get it. Right. So I'm putting on the Stripology ruler, and all these are aligned on the side, and I'm going to, this is my 0, line, which means that I can cut off these folds, number one, get rid of the folds. Then I can start cutting strips. Alright, if I was doing it with an ordinary long ruler, in exactly the same way, forget this ruler is here, I would lay my long ruler about 1/8 of an inch in, make a cut, so I got rid of all those folds, and then however wide I wanted to strip, and I think for this 1/4 inch I'm going to cut it to initially at 1.5 inches. I would move the ruler in, then on my cut line, my fresh cut line, 1.5 inches and cut, move it in 1.5 inches and cut, and so. And that's what you would do with a long ruler. But I'm lucky enough to be able to utilise my Stripology ruler. So with a nice cutter, I have to say my favourite cutter, because I want this to be right. So now I got cut lines. The next thing I'm going to do for this, I want a 2-inch strip. So I'm cutting 2 inch, and I'm going to cut 4 inch. I think that's going to be enough. If you're making 2 pillows, cut it at 6 and at 8 as well, so that you've got more and more. Yeah, but I think, well, I suppose I ought to, yeah. I'm going to cut at 6 as well. I think I'm just going to cut at 6. So I've got 3 strips now. Just finish that last strip off. Okay. So I've got my first strip, which has got 2 ends. Nope, didn't quite cut my fold. That's fine. Just run up that fold. And the next strip. So I think I got enough. So let's take a couple of strips. And I wanted 46, 52 in the end. So I think I got enough here. Alright, so what we need to do is join the ends. So mine doesn't matter which way up it is. Yours might, but if it did matter to you, then pretty side looking up at you, pretty side looking down, make a box, make 90-degree angle, pin it in the top right corner, yep, and pin it in the bottom left corner, because like all types of binding, what we're going to do now is, where's my ruler, what have I done with it? Oh, this annoys me when I'm working. Oh, let's find the ruler. Is from the top left corner to the bottom right corner, and you can mark it with a pen if you want. We're going to sew that line. Okay, when we sew that line, we're going to test it by opening that, and it should be straight, and then we're going to cut off a 1/4 inch there, so and open that seam up so it's nice and flat. So I've just joined that, ironed it flat, and now I can cut off any bunny ears, so it's one continuous piece of fabric. Now where's my piece of thing? Let's just make sure before we start, is this going to be long enough? Oh, it's all wrinkledy, isn't it? So, yeah. Oh yes, so my bit of binding is more than long enough. So starting at one end, and I just, start right at the end, bring it in a bit. I want to fold this over, right side on the outside obviously, fold this over now and put a pin in right next to the binding. Now the secret is keeping these outside edges the same width. So we want the binding as far into the fold as we can and pin it. Now I just start to pin the top, and what I also like to do, I've been at this rodeo a few times, is I know that sometimes accidentally the piping can come out of the binding, so I do like to at the top. Just get that binding pinned, because you know you can find it oh, how am I going to re-thread it back through? So I just pinning it so it can't move. I'm not going to pin anymore. So you can see the premise. We want to work as closely as we can to the cording, but we want our binding strips to stay meeting together. Yeah, so now we're going to put a zipper foot on if you have one, or there are other feet which I was just going to have a look in my box and see what I got that would work just as well. We're now going to sew, keeping everything as close to the edge as we sew down. I'm trying to keep as best we can these seams, these edges meeting up. I put a few pins in this just to get it started, and I've just sewn a few stitches, and I'm kind of holding onto the cord and stitching down and taking out my pin as I go. I haven't pinned it all because once you get it going, it is quite easy to then hold it yourself. I'm just holding on to the cord, not necessarily the material, but trying to keep this against my cord in line. Oop, it moved out there. I'll go back and redo that bit. I don't know why I slipped away from it there, but I did. So as you can see, I'm trying to keep these outside lines together and as much as I can against the cord. Oop. It's not something you can rush, okay? But when you've made it, you should be very pleased with yourself. coming to the end of it now, so I'm going to stop there, go back on myself, and I'm just going to put a clip, because again we don't want the cord to move, so I can cut the end of that just for now, and put a clip on the cord itself because we don't want the cord to move. And if we come right back at the other end, I can take that pin that I was holding it with again. You can just cut that end, and for the moment put a clip on the cord because we don't want that cord to move. So now we've made our piping. Okay,